Boom! What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm so glad you guys who are on the check-in are spending some time with me on a Friday in the late summer. I really appreciate it. Big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. Um, Let's see, Spook Realm 4Q, you are first as usual in the building. Spook Realm PSA, if you ain't a jive turkey, and I hope most of you are not, then buy the epic true story. My brother's name is Kenny. The link is in the description below. Assault the like button, please. It helps the algorithm. I'm seeing that some of you guys are not hitting the like button. Please hit the like button. I'd appreciate it. And I said big up to the Rewind crew, so I'm going to leave that. And we're going to move on. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so I can see. And I say this every week. I fail every week, but let me move quickly and see if I can catch up. Supreme Divine, what up? Gregory Netta says, if you had to pick a celebrity to have a dinner with, who will you pick right now? Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I would have picked Bob Marley or Prince back in the day, but they are no longer with us. Uh, I'd have to think about that one. That's a good question. I'm gonna move on, but that's a good question. I'd have to think about that. Uh, Yo, Kenny, do you believe in UFOs? Absolutely, I do. Um, been studying that for a long time. Been studying that since I was a kid. Uh, let's see. James Brown, what up? Rod Justice Hip Hop, what up? Rod Justice says, what up, Kenny? I have not been here on a Friday in a few weeks. Come on. Game night and concerts. Oh, that's dope. I love concerts, man. I'm down. That is one of the few times you'll get me to come outside these days. I don't hang out in clubs anymore. But if there's a dope concert of an artist that I like, I am there. Spook Realm says, anyone else heard about the collab album supposed to drop with Ghostface, Killer, and MF Doom? I saw an interview with Ghostface, and he said uh, that he said they have songs. There's an album. Now, I don't know when he said he's going to drop it, but he did say there were songs. I saw that. Patrick Wild, what up from the Valley? Spook Realm says, Benny Doyle says, what's good, y'all? Big up Benny Doyle, who's working today. I believe he can't make it on a Friday. MMA Crossfire, what up? Flowtree One, what's good? Ethan Sutton, haven't seen you in a while. What's up? Derek Mallory, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin Cities, what up? Chef Daddy, see some names I haven't seen in a while. El Sol, peace from South Memphis. South Memphis, Tennessee. Have I ever been to Memphis? I don't think so. JWoo72, what up? Beyond the Matrix. Dear Marasuti. Terrell McMillan, what's good on a Friday? I don't recognize this name. Brunswick BNC. Peace. Are you new to the channel? Welcome. BR Valentine 1, a rare live pleasure for me. What's up, KP and Tuesday, Friday community? What up? What up? RB Buffy 361. Cap Soul. Peace, Kenny. Much love. Much love to everybody, man. Jason Walls. Sydney Rhodes, what up? JWoo72 says, Yo, Kenny, I saw your interview with Lord Jamar, and he tried to make the show about him, but it was a good interview. Thank you. Oh, yeah, I did that with Lord Jamar about 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and some change. Yeah, about two and some change. Yeah. Shout out Lord Jamar. MMA says, Kenny, the 50th Toronto International Film Festival is underway here. Have you gone to any of the New York film festivals? No. But I was once sitting outside in a car around the time of the Tribeca Film Festival, and I was sitting in the car, and who was walking down the street but Michael Myers and a young lady. This had to be '08 or '07, and Michael Myers was walking down the street holding a lady's hand and just walking down the sidewalk in New York. And if you see Michael Myers, you have no you have to laugh. You just look at him and characters just come to your head and you'll just start laughing. Um, I remember that, but I've never been to a New York Film Festival to my knowledge. Paul Major, I believe, says, Hey, Kenny, let me try again. Can you touch on the Funkmaster Wiz's KRS disc? Thanks as always. Much love and BDP for life. No, I have no idea what that is. I'd have to investigate that. I have no idea what that is. Um, Speaking of that, speaking of New York, today I was just in New York City in the Village, part of the city they call the Village. For those that's not familiar with New York, there's a section called the Village. It's in Lower Manhattan. I was there with a friend walking through, and I saw a guy, and I was like, he looks familiar. And I was like, that couldn't be. I did a double take. I turned around, I came back and said, let me look closely. I walked up on him, and it was my man, Q-Tip the Abstract. From you guys know how much I love Native Tongue music. That's my favorite collective. And A Tribe Called Quest might be my favorite group of all time. I'm super cool with all the brothers. Rest in peace to Fife. Shout out Jerobi. Shout out Ali Shaheed. And of course, just chilling in New York City today on a nice day. My man Q-Tip was outside. And we stopped and we chopped it up for a couple of minutes and we kept it moving. But it was great to see Tip. He looks good. I need to catch up with him in the future. So I'm gonna do that. Uh it's just in New York, you could just be walking down the street and I saw a stat that said at any given time on any random day, 30 of the most influential people in the world are in New York City on any given day. 30 of the world's most influential people are in New York City. And that's a crazy stat. There's really no other place really like that. Um, and I'm fortunate enough to have been born and raised here, and you see all kind of people, especially if in a business like music or rap, where you know the people, you see all kind of people just chilling. And I saw Q-Tip today, so that was good. Um, I need to talk to him later too. So yeah. Uh, Booze review or Booze review? Views. Peace DJ KP. What is a female rapper you don't think gets enough mention? Jean Grey is my choice. She is dope. Oh man, that's a good question. You mean all time? Um, I'm gonna big up some people I'm cool with. I mean, of course I'm not gonna mention my homie Heather. I'm gonna mention the Lady of Rage. I'm gonna mention Moni Love. I don't think Moni Love really gets mentioned enough. She was here I go, native tongue down. She was the the breakout woman from Native Tongue, because Queen Latifah was already in a crew Flavor Unit. She's a Native Tongue, but she was already in a crew. But Moni Love was like the woman, the female rapper of Native Tongue, and she was looking like she was gonna be huge. I'm gonna shout her out. That's my homie too, by the way. I hope to get her on the show one day. I'm gonna shout out. That's what I'm gonna shout. I'm gonna shout out Moni Love, and I'm gonna shout out Rage. I'm sure there's others. There's like a real unsung. I'd have to think about that one. Like a real unsung woman who I enjoy. I'm gonna think about that. Um, uh, J Dale Reed, Peace King. Been a good minute since I caught a live. Big shout out to the big up to the Rewind crew. Thank you so much on a Friday for coming through. Um, Gregory Netter said if Vince Markey was alive, he would go crazy on Hip Hop 50th anniversary. Yes, he would have. Um, yeah. Tori D says, "What's up, y'all? Glad to be here. NFL on my laptop, NCHS ball on TV, Kenny Parker show on my phone." Thank you so much. Appreciate that for getting in that mix with football. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, Brunswick says I asked you about the Battle Beats Volume 1 last week. I forgot about that. Yeah, I don't have those. I don't have that music digitized. I need to do that. Um, actually, I just have the vinyl. I'm gonna do a session. I'm just gonna play the beat so you guys can hear it. I only have a couple of copies of that left. I put it out. It's called Kenny Parker Battle Beats. I put it out in the end of '97, around Christmas of '97. Uh, Rid, what's up? Is it Rid or it's RIDD? I'm just gonna say Rid because, of course, I just butcher everybody's name on here. Um, Percy Miller says Kenny Parker podcast is still number one, 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 one. I remember the first time I heard that record, D Nice played it for me. Crazy. Kenneth Smith, what up, KP? Peace to the community. Um, Jamil Live, Jamil Live. What's up, Ken? Did you hear the new Public Enemy album, Black Sky Projects, Apartment 2020? No, I have not heard that yet. Uh, El Sol says, Yo, Kenny, if P. Diddy got out of jail tomorrow, considering his charges, who do you think would still work with him? Everybody that worked with him before. I think not right away. You got to let some of the smoke clear. Let him get out. Puffy's going to make his rounds. He's going to assimilate because he's not the type of person that's going to go and disappear or ride off into the sunset with his millions. No, he's going to come out like I told you I was innocent, innocent, and he's gonna be defiant and he's gonna be like, I'm here. And as a matter of fact, he's gonna be doing parties and he's gonna go right back to business as usual. Probably not as wild, but he's gonna come back in the game. And in a minute, he's gonna have some situations. And if it's popping, people will mess with him. People will mess with him. Look at R. Kelly. He dodged tremendous charges that first time in '03. He was almost out of here and he managed to finagle his way out of that. And people were not gonna play his music, blah blah blah. Then he dropped the Chocolate Factory, and when the Chocolate Factory came out, it was so good that people were like, "Well, that was the past. We gonna rock with you now." And R. Kelly was rocking for a minute till he got in trouble again. Um, this business is not the moral code of the music business is almost zero. If you can make somebody money, it don't matter what you do, they will mess with you. So the long story short, that's my opinion. I think everybody will mess with him eventually. Um, Patrick Wise says, KP, what's the name of the guy you did the interview with who went to music and art with Slick Rick and Danny Dane? It was a while ago. Dude took over the interview, could have let you speak more. Is that Big Said, who went to music and art with Slick Rick and Danny Dane? I'm thinking that's Big Said. Bigced. He does quite a few interviews. That's my brother right there. I think that's who you're talking about. Jason Waltz says Sweet Tea had the best 80s female songs, in my opinion. Oh, that's a tough one because Salt and Pepper was out, Latifah, Light. I mean, that's a valid opinion. I loved all of them, but Queen Latifah was my favorite in the 80s. I really liked that first album. I mean, I like Light. I liked, but I don't know. I really like that first Latifah album. Beyond the Matrix is Bahamadia. She gets mentioned to me. Shout out Bahamadia, first of all. She's a super cool girl. I had the pleasure of sitting down one day with her and just talking, probably in like 99, 98, 99. When did I talk to her? No, it was before that, probably like 97. I had a chance to sit down and talk to Bahamadia, but she was mad cool. Um, Gregory Netter says Nonchalant 5 o'clock is a classic. Absolutely. I love that record. Um, Shout out to Nonchalant, whom I've never met. The funniest thing about that record? How the guys, like she did her verse, and then the guy came on, and he was so opposite of everything she was talking about. He was talking about eating pork, smothered pork, and he's just trying to be out in these streets. Like he just jumped on. Like I don't know what she was talking about that first verse, but here's me and I'm street. It was so funny to me. Um, yeah, shout out Nonchalant. Flochi One says Ghost has been doing a great job promoting his new joint. Yeah, well, I'm gonna shout him out. I'm gonna shout out Mass Appeal, shout out Nas. They've done a great job with not only putting out classic artists that we like, but giving them a real chance to be heard. I was just listening to the Ghost and Method Man a song where they did the Biggie, the Warning. They kind of like reimagined the Warning. Fire, fire. Terrell McMillan says Lynn Q, aka Isis of X Clan. Big up Lynn Q. I used to see her in the club all the time. Boo's review says Booyah's review is correct. Booyah's review is correct. I agree with Moni Love. I was listening to Ladies First today, and saying the same thing. She was nasty on Ladies First, and Buddy, she killed Buddy, man. She was on fire for a second. Ladybug Mecca, I never met her. Big up to Diggable Planets. MC Trouble, rest in peace. I never met her. The mother who birthed them all, Shyrock. Every female MC owes Shyrock a what do they call it, debt of gratitude. She birthed everybody, and a nice woman. Oh, this is weird. Patrick Ross says KP around 92. I saw Biz Markie coming down 7th Avenue around 47th Street on a hot summer day. Mm, that's over there by Sam Ash music store and all that. I said, "What up, Biz?" And he just went, "Ah." he was he was exhausted and also had a couple of 12-inch vinyls. Biz was absolutely funny. Kevin Smith said, Rod Digger, Rhapsody, not enough credit. I could hear that. Dear Rasuti said Antoinette was inducted into the Hall of Fame yesterday. That's odd. I didn't see that. Not that's odd, but I didn't see that. Uh, oh, there's a blast from the past. Queen Pen is underrated too. Emil also. Queen Pen. What was her record? She playing the tunnel. A party ain't a party. Pick up the Teddy Riley. A party ain't a party till I come. Oh, dude. She used the Earth, Wind, and Fire sample. I used to get heavy play in the tunnel. Of course, she killed No Diggity. I never met Queen Pen. Big up to her. Patrick Wise says Moni Love, Rod Digger, and Hurricane G, R.I.P., are three of my favorite female MCs, along with the godmother of rap, Shyrock. Yes, she is the blueprint. Let me scroll down a little bit. I'm trying to keep up, y'all. I'm not that far behind today. Um, this is really interesting, Vincent Ross. Good evening, DJ Kenny Parker. Have you and the Blastmaster ever discussed black fatigue? If so, what were your opinions of it? No, we have not. I've just seen this term being used lately. I'm still vague on an exact definition. I'm assuming it's meaning certain black stereotype traits that are shown a lot in social media and on TV. People are tired of it, including black people. But this is something that we've been talking about since the 80s. KRS said in My Philosophy, I think he said, the way some MCs act is kind of whack. It lacks creativity, original. What is it? It lacks creativity and originality, something like that. The way some people act in rap is kind of whack. That he said that in '88, and I agree with that. And black fatigue, I need like a better definition, but I believe Chris Rock touched on it in his first stand-up, the one that went big, the HBO stand-up, when he was talking about black people versus N-word. That's like the skit that really blew him up. I think that's kind of like a black fatigue uh comedian's take on it. But no, I have not talked to KRS about it. And I've been looking at this, I've been seeing this come across my feed, and I'm kind of trying to get a feel for it. But I must say, the worst stereotypes of black people are pushed nonstop in social media for sure. Reggie Johnson says, Yo, KP, you might do know, but St. Mahomes is on right now. Yes, watch your football, man. I ain't mad at you, bro. Thank you for just sticking your head in. Um, uh, Rod Justice says Diddy is going to come with the baby oil and the booty agreement. First of all, he been came with the baby oil. He had the baby oil for 25, 30 years, and everybody was down. That's what I'm trying to say. Everybody was down with all of that stuff before the trial. The same people were down. The only difference now is going to be give it a little time for him to assimilate back into society, and a lot of stuff they're going to not want to be associated with, not because they wasn't down with it, because it would hurt their brand. So he's going to have to chill with the baby oil in public. But it wasn't just Diddy. That's the part that got me. Like, Remember, everybody was saying how this is going to bring down the whole music business. All of these names were going to come out. This is the tell all. He's blackmailing people. They have all of these videos, they have all of this evidence. Everybody's going to elicit this person and that person, this person. At the end of the day, they had one person up there. One? That means he was at these parties. Basically, no celebrity was at the party. It was just Diddy, Cassie, and some baby oil and some hired fun. That's it. That's what they're selling us. Y'all know that's not true. But that's the narrative. It was just one person. He beat the case closed, close the book, move on. I could see him being on top in a few. Um, let's see. Spook Realm says the moral code of the entertainment industry is out the window. I'll take it a step further. It was never in the window. There was never a moral code, ever. I'm not going to go on one of my record company rants. Y'all have heard a bunch of them. Um, but I am adamant that there is no moral. And Diddy is the classic example of what the extremes that is going on that multiple people were aware of and still did business. Somebody said they saw at a dinner table, they saw Diddy assault Cassie at the dinner table and continued on with the meeting. Like, oh wow, that's odd. Okay, yeah, like we were saying, you got $10 million on the table, let's go. Um, and you know, it also shows, I'm not gonna go too deep into Diddy because I wasn't trying to talk about that too much like everybody else, but um it also talks about, it shows what people didn't really touch on is the gatekeeping, the gatekeepers. For years, people have been complaining and saying behind the scenes there are gatekeepers that make it where you have to do certain things or be down with certain cliques or people in order to advance in the music business and entertainment period. There are gatekeepers, and these people make other people do things that they would not necessarily do just to be famous. And it's always been like a urban legend. But Diddy is showing that not only was he one of the major gatekeepers, but that whole thing is true. I can't believe that no one else got exposed in this. Rich says JJ Fad. Shout out to JJ Fad. I met, what was the youngest one? Baby D? I met Baby D on the Dope Jam tour in '88. Don't front. Didn't they came at Wax and Shantae tried to diss them on what did she try to diss them on? Marley Marl in Control, and JJ Fad came back. Don't front. Henry Cedillo, salute. Um, this is a good question. Jason Wall says, KP, were there different versions of Why Is That? I remember the album version was different from the version I heard on the radio back in the day. I'm not sure about that. I mean, Red Alert might have got a super advanced copy from KRS, and then they might have changed it afterwards. I'm not sure about that. Um, I'd have to investigate that. I don't remember what a different version, but I'm pretty sure Red Alert got everything first from BDP, fresh out the studio. So there could have been a version that he had um, that everyone else didn't get to hear. Flochi One says, I thought Diddy said he would leave the US and never come back. I don't know. Did he say that? I don't know. I don't believe that. I mean, he beat the charges for the most part. I mean, he's going to get some time. He's done some time, but for the most part, he's going to be a free man with hundreds of millions of dollars. If he leaves the US, it's not like he could go other places in the world and they not know who he is or know what happened. The whole world knows what happened. Why leave? But he's not the runaway type. Um, that's just my opinion. I don't know, did he? I mean, I met him back in the day when he was puffy, but I don't know. I don't know with these people. We're just speculating here, but I don't think he's the running type. Crusher Blackwell says, Kenny, didn't you say that you was uncredited for the song Black Cop? Yes. All I gotta say is shame on Jive. Man, when that song first came out, I totally lost my mind. The speakers was never the same. It's I wouldn't say it's totally on Jive. Um, did I ever go into I think I've told the story of Black Cop, but I don't know if I told the official story, like I did a whole breakdown on this channel, how that song came about. But KRS-One produced that song. That was his idea. But I had some ideas that I added to the song, and I did all of the drum programming on that song. I picked the tempo, I picked the sounds, but KRS had the idea of how the record, he wanted the drum pattern to go a certain way, and that's what I did. He wanted to put the reggae sample in there, that's what I did. That was his idea how that song happened, but I was like the co-producer of that song, and I didn't get any credit. And they used the song again for Mad Lion, and he had a hit, Shoot to Kill Every Day. Um, it's one of them stories. I have a few stories like that. Uh, Gherkin says, Boss was dope. Big up to Boss. I never met her. Crusher Blackwell says, Rest in Paradise, Miss Melody. Yes. Um, Vincent Ross says, a criminally underrated banger from a female MC is Versions of Nefertiti by Nefertiti. I met Nefertiti a couple times in D&D studios. I forgot what she was working on, but I met Nefertiti back in the day. Shout out to her. I haven't seen these people in decades. Um, Flochi One says the 80s, it was MC Light for me. Yeah, Light was dope. I remember buying the Cha 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 cassette single. Remember cassette singles? Um, Stop, Look, and Listen was banging for me. And Kick This One for Brooklyn. Kick This One for the 90s. If y'all know Brooklyn and y'all know where the 90s is, what she's talking about, you would know that that's the hardest record ever. There's parts of Brooklyn that's super gangster. In the 90s was ridiculous back in the day. Um, my family used to be in the 90s, so I was up in the 90s a lot. Uh, and when she said, kick this one for Brooklyn, kick this one for the 90s, I said, oh, MC Light is so gangster. If I ever get MC Light on the show, we got to talk about the 90s, man. Not the 90s the years. I'm talking about 95th Street, 96th Street, that 90s. Samuel Gervais, what up? So we can't forget about Yo Yo. Not at all. I don't think she's underrated. Brand Yakubian, hi KP, picking up from Tuesday. What are three criminally underrated hip hop albums in your opinion? Oh man, this is how I be falling behind. Underrated. See, the thing, underrated is one of those terms for me. Because to say something is underrated means it should be ranked higher or considered higher or maybe even bigger but it's not seen on the same status as something else. So underrated. Because to me, most projects pretty much end after 30 years or whatever, 50 years of hip hop, ended up basically where they should be for the most part. So I'm trying to think of what is criminally underrated. That means it was banging and nobody really put it up as high as it should. I have to think about that. That's a tough question. I have to think about a lot of albums because there's albums that were they underrated, but they sold. Like I think Scarface's whole career is underrated. I think Space Mob is one of the greatest lyricists ever to me. And I think when they talk about people who have had great songs and lyrics, they don't mention Scarface. So to me, he's underrated, but at the same time, he's gone platinum a couple times. So is that really underrated? 1 million people bought his albums. So that's a tough, tough, tough question. I'd have to really sit down, go through music, and pick and think about that. Corey Flood says Rick James' daughter was in HWA. Is that true? I remember that cover, that 12-inch cover. Patrick White says, KP, back in the day, who was your go-to mixtape DJ and what was your favorite mixtape? I didn't have one because I used to make my own tapes. Um, Most of the world never even heard them, only people in BDP. I was like the BDP tape maker. Every time we had a show, everybody would come to me, they be trying to get dubs of my tapes. So I used to make copies for everybody. Um, so I used to make my own tapes, but Kid Capri for me is my guy as far as mixtapes go. He's the guy for me. And I also mentioned DJ Juice. Um, we've seen him a couple times out and about, and he gave us a tape, and we popped it in and just riding around, me and Will, and we really loved his music and how he put everything together. So I didn't listen to a lot of mixtapes, but DJ Juice and Kid Capri are my two favorites. Um, Orlon, CMC's technique in class once again, as usual. Thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. It is much appreciated. Thank you. Um, you're practically a sponsor on this channel. Uh, Says Yo KP, man. Listen, Foxy Brown's BK anthem wrecked. I know that it hit hard when she dropped that. Yeah, I remember that BK anthem. I'm trying to remember. Wait a minute, is that the reggae one? Is that the one that had the reggae sound, or is? I wish I could jump off of here and play music. I probably could, but because I really want to remember that song well. She had this one song around that time. I think my man did the anthem. My man did the chorus. The guy I used to play ball with in Brooklyn did the chorus, and he was uncredited, and he was so sad. I remember talking to him. So I'm trying to think if that's the same song. Big up to Foxy Brown, whom I've never met, but her brothers, Antoine and Pretty Boy, are mad cool. Matter of fact, me and Antoine have had multiple conversations and played ball against each other. Shout out Antoine, he's super cool. I've seen Pretty Boy out and about, just what's up. But Antoine, that's a homie right there. I've never met Foxy Brown. Let's see. Let me make this bigger, bigger, bigger. Patrick Wise says, JT, I didn't like the Super popular DJs like Clue and others, but Juice never spoke on his tapes. Me neither. Yeah, I love that. And his intros were dope and his blends were second to none. Yeah, DJ Juice used to make some really good tapes, man. Um, BR Valentine says, I always wanted to know what part of Brooklyn is 54th Street. In 95, I used to draw 54 on my boots to rep my Philly neighborhood in Atlanta, and a couple of New York people asked me if I was from Brooklyn. That's a good question because 54th Street, or for me, is Flatbush. Um, but there's different. Brooklyn is so big that there's different parts with numbered streets. So the only 54th Street that I am familiar with in Brooklyn is Flatbush. East Flatbush, I would imagine. And then it keeps going up. That's what I say. When you get up to the 90s, then that becomes Brownsville. And we've talked about Brownsville multiple times on this channel. I used to live on East 35th. I used to live on East 21st. We used to go up to the 54. What part of 54? It's Flatbush, but is that like Canarsie? I'm not sure. Vincent Ross says, I remember I copped Raekwon's single Criminology with Glaciers of Ice as the B-side at Coconuts for $1.99 as a cassette single. Dope. I remember the first time I think I heard Glaciers of Ice. I went to D&D to hang out with my man, DJ Premier. And we were just talking about music, and he was just playing a couple songs. He's like, "Did you hear this?" And he put on Wu-Tang Glaciers of Ice. And keep in mind, we're in the studio. They had the big, giant speakers up at the top. And then he put on Glaciers of Ice. I remember that's the first time I really heard it clear. Preem played it for me. And then he said, the Firm album just came out. And I was like, no, I haven't heard it yet. He's like, what? You didn't hear Phone Tap? And I was like, Phone Tap, what's that? He was like, hold on. He pulled out the cassette, he popped the CD, and he popped it in, and it just said, boop. Yo, this Esco, who this? What the dilly? And how that beat drops? I was like, oh, Dr. Dre, no, you didn't. Your Phone Tap was banging ridiculously. Preem put me on Glaciers of Ice and Phone Tap at the same time. Um, Terrell McMillan says Finesse's Sequence was definitely criminally slept on album was crazy nice. I never heard their whole album. I was mad cool with Finesse. Big up Finesse. I think I met Sequence, but I'm not sure. But I know Finesse was mad cool. Because I used to before they had Soul Sisters, I used to chill with the bass game. Marley Marl used to play that. I think it was on Marley Marl in Control. And I saw Finesse and I told her, yo, I've been rocking with you since Chill with the Bass Game. And she was like, you like that song? I was like, yeah. Like she almost was like she didn't like it or something. But I was like, I used to rock with Chill with the Bass Game. And then Soul Sister was their big video hit. Shout out to Finesse Sequence. That's a name that you don't hear that much. Um, Jason Glow says Downtown Science, only album they ever did on Def Jam in '91. My low-key most slept on album ever. Love the production and samples. Downtown Science. I haven't heard that name in forever. Oh, this is wild. Bill Shapiro said my roommate interned for Sally Jesse. Said she was mad ugly minus the makeup. Oh wow. Um, I'm not gonna diss Sally Jesse. I used to like Sally Jesse show. Didn't she wear the red glasses? I've watched quite a few of her shows. Remember the daytime talk shows were on fire? Jamil Lodge says, "What's up, Kenny? Have you seen or heard about Peyton Manning LL Cool J documentary? Hip hop was born here. I saw the trailer. I have not been had a chance to watch it." Uh, um, David also says, "Kenny, why did so many rappers come out in '88? It was a lot of albums released that year. Was the industry different then? Yes. Uh, the major labels, hip hop, rap music started on, commercially in '79. And for the first 8 years, rap music was mainly an independent label genre. Most rap groups didn't even have albums. Only a few groups even had albums. Everybody had 12-inch singles, then another single, then another single, then another single. But finally in '88, rap music's numbers started reaching the numbers of R&B stars. Rap started doing R&B numbers, and it was cheaper to make a rap record because you didn't need a band or anything like that, and there was no sampling laws. All you needed was some studio time and a drum machine, and you could make an album that could do R&B numbers. So then the majors wanted on. And in '88, the big majors started either outright buying out, like purchasing groups from the independents, or giving the independent labels uh major distribution. And when that happened in '88, that's when the floodgates opened up. Now you have major distribution and money behind these acts, and MTV Raps happened at the same time. So it was like rap now had the ability to go national, and there was money behind it. A wave came, um, and it was one of the pivotal years for hip hop in '88. '88 was a great year. That's why some people, you ever see these, like, people talk about the golden era of hip hop, the golden era. I hate that term. And they always say from '89 to '94 is the golden era. Anything that happened before '89, I guess, doesn't count. And anything that happened after '94 is whack. I totally disagree because '87 was dope. The '88 was ridiculous. I think '88 was better than '89. But for some reason, people just picked '89 as the year. I don't even know what that's all about. That's just my personal opinion. Um, but yeah, great question. Uh, MK Ultra, what's up? Says Inspector Deck underrated. Let's look at that. He could be the most underrated member of Wu-Tang, but that's tough because in a group like Wu-Tang, you could be dope and be like number six, ranked number 6 or 7 out of the nine, and be, to be number 6 or 7 or 8 in Wu-Tang Clan is probably still elite, is not probably, is still have you as an elite MC. I think the reason why Inspector Deck is considered underrated is because he never had the big single for himself, or the big, big prize. He's always guest appeared on a Wu Tang song or somebody else's hit. He never had the big one for himself. And because he never had the big song, like if you say, what does Inspector Deck sing? You can't say, oh, remember this record, bang. You could always say the Wu-Tang record that he was on, or, his verse on this was incredible, always. Matter of fact, I think Inspector Deck should start every Wu-Tang record. Every Wu record, Inspector Deck goes first. He cracks it open beautifully. But that's why I think, I'm going to say underrated. He doesn't get mentioned as much, I think, as the other members, but you have some incredible members of Wu Tang with big platinum selling albums. It's tough. It's tough, man. But he's great. I agree with that. He's one of the most underrated. Just a dope rapper. Wish he had a banger. Wish he had at least one. Um, Spook Realm says DJ SNS was dope. Yes, is dope. That's my man. I met him with Biz. I met so many people hanging with Biz, but uh, SNS is Biz's man too. So we've chilled. That's my man S. Love him. Love him. Um, Jason Wall says that Foxy Brown and K song was hot. That song was platinum single. It was beyond hot. Uh, let's see. Is this your underrated list, Bill Shapiro? Beat Nuts, Prince Paul, Battle Cat? Beat Nuts, I would consider underrated. But are they underrated, or are where they should? Are they where they should be in the mix? The '90s was brutal, man. You could be dope in the '90s and be on the B team or the C team and be great. Being on the B team in the '90s is a hell of an achievement. Even the C team. Prince Paul, who we've had on this channel, I hope everybody saw the interview, is very underrated. He doesn't get mentioned enough for his contribution to game changing. I love using that word and I will continue to use it. I've got heat for using it, but I will keep using it for game changing music with De La Soul. Battle Cat, I'm not sure what he did with mostly with LL because the credits are blurred. I'd have to look at the credits with Battle Cat. Um, let's see. JT, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. It's much appreciated. Thank you. KP, I think people who start at 89 don't have deep crates. Yeah. That's missing so much hip hop history. Early Def Jam, PDP, Stat, and so much more. They missed Paid in Full. They missed Public Enemy, Yo Bum Rush the Show. They missed a lot of Juice Crew. They missed NWA and Ice T and Schoolie D and just the list of stuff that happened in 87, 86 was ridiculous. Ridiculous. Like 89, like what? Why 89? Like what about 89 makes it the year? Because you just want to say the 90s, but you just uh don't want to just say the 90s, so you just throw 89 in there. KP, that timeline don't sound right. Phone Tap wasn't out with Glaciers of Ice. Raekwon dropped in 95, Firm's 97. Yeah, okay, you're right. So maybe he played it for me on different times because I remember being in the studio and Preem playing me Glaciers of Ice and Phone Tap. So maybe you're right, Corey Flood. And I'm a real timeline junkie. Um, Maybe I was in the studio two different times and Preem played me music two different times because he definitely played me um Glaciers of Ice and he definitely played me Phone Tap. So maybe it was two different times. Thank you for helping me clear that up. Um Trying to think. And the firm was 97. Sure the firm wasn't like 96. Maybe it was 97. When did Phone Tap come out? I'm usually good with my timelines too. Brandon Yakubian said, KP, did you like the Shazzy album? I have not heard that. David Alston, Kenny, have BDP ever been booed at a show? I can't imagine they have. No. Uh, I've probably done I've done well over 1,000 shows with KRS, probably pushing like 1,500. We've never come close to getting booed. Um, I've talked on this channel. I forgot what epic fail it was where I said KRS. We did a show on the Washington Monument steps. Either the Capitol steps or the Washington Monument steps. And it was like 300,000 people out there. 300,000. And we had like 8 minutes, and we got up there, and KRS called George Bush Satan. I might get flagged for saying that. And the crowd was mixed on that. Like you could hear some like ooh, like ooh, like that was and this he was the president when KRS said this. In DC. And the Secret Service went crazy because they was like, who the hell is this? I did this in one of my epic fails. I can't remember which one it was. Um, but we weren't supposed to be on the bill. We was added at the last minute because we were in town. And the promoters was like, yo, we got 8 minutes right here. You want to jump on? So Chris was like, yeah, and we jumped on. And he called the president of the United States Aiton. And Secret Service was going through their paperwork. They was on their earpiece. They was like, who is this? It was crazy. It was real crazy. But no, we never got booed. Never. CMCs, thank you once again. Says, I also want to highlight HBCU Johnson C. Smith in Charlotte, North Carolina for having Chubb Rock headlining the old school show on the 27th. I'm excited to see it. Shout out to my brother Chubb Rock. That's another good dude, man. That's a good dude, Chubb Rock. That's a good dude. I haven't seen Chubb Rock perform probably since early, like 2011, 2010 or something like that. We did a few shows. We did a couple shows with the Chubster. Shout out Hot Diggity Dog. We used to dance for him. He always used to have the white suit on. Rest in peace, Hitman Howie T. Rob Swinger. Um, I would love, Chubb Rock is a show that I would go to see because he has a few songs that I like. Um, Big up to him. Let's see. Patrick Ross says, oh yes, Finesse and Sequence, they were as good as Salt and Pepper. Whoo, easy, Patrick Y, easy. I like Finesse and Sequence, and then, like I said, Finesse is a great girl when I met her, but Salt and Pepper had monster records, man. I just felt there wasn't room back then for two female rap groups back then. Times were like that. I could hear that, but Soul Sister should have been bigger. It had all the elements for a big record. I don't know how big it was outside of New York, but I know Ralph McDaniels used to play that video all the time. Um, Salt and Pepper's, I think, a different category though. Beyond the Matrix is KP. Remember the Jenny Jones show? Of course I do. I used to catch a few of those things from time to time. MMA says Reggie Miller had a talk show. And Jesse Jackson. Wow. I know Magic had one. Yeah, Red says that Magic show was doomed from the first one. Uh, Vincent Ross says, how could I forget not to cite Sister Soldier? We are at war. A dope conscious artist discovered by Public Enemy and another super cool girl. I've seen her a few times in the 90s. I think we did a show with her, something super cool. Now she's a huge best-selling author. I think she's a million-selling author. She writes, is it love, like love stories, like black love stories or something. Shout out Sister Soldier. Haven't seen her in these people. You bring up these names people I haven't seen in 30 years, 25, 30 years. It's crazy. We are at war. Uh, CMC says 88 was insane. Yes, it was. Spook Realm says, who was the first shock jock talk show host? Wouldn't that be Morton Downey? Remember Morton Downey? He used to smoke cigarettes on the show. He used to throw people off the show. Yo, Morton Downey was off the walls. Y'all remember him? He's a Howard Stern, but I consider him more like radio. Yeah, Jason Walls hit me right on the head. The best was Morton Downey Jr. show. Used to come on like 10 p.m. That show was wild. Yes, that show was one of my Morton Downey's show was wild. The guest was wild, but he would go right at them. Like they'd be arguing, like ready to fight. Yo, it's great. Get off my show. Um, yeah, I see some people on here mentioning Morton Downey. CMC says Inspector Deck is underrated. Yeah, I would say so. Rap Salute says Deck's album wasn't that good though. Um, to me, by the time Deck came out, I don't even. First of all, did RZA do? How much did RZA do? Because it was a sound that goes with it. How many? Because normally they'll have like two people together, like Ray and Ghost. It should have been Deck. I don't know, Ugard. Was it a Deck and Ugard or Deck and Master Killer, something like that? Deck and Capadonna, something like that with RZA. That was the formula. By the time Deck's album came out, it was like what, 98 or something? I still think he's great. Big up to the Rebel INS. Tracy says, hi, hey Kenny, hey chat. What's up, Tracy? Uh Vincent Ross says, I love Machiavelli, but he was hating on Deck. Deck's verse on Got My Mind Made Up was fire. Just as good as Pac's Johnny Blaze Funk Doc. I never heard his verse. I know he was supposed to be on that song. Um, I don't know if he was hating. It wasn't like I don't know if that was the reason. Here's an underrated record. OC Time's Up is a classic, but doesn't get enough props. I agree. I remember in 94 in the club, there was a minute where OC Time's Up and Craig Mack Flavor in Your Ear were the two hot records that they were playing in the club. And they were like equal for like a week or two. And then Flavor in Your Ear just went nuclear. And Time's Up just stayed on like an underground level. Before a second, I believe them songs was like equal. Big up OC. He came to the Rappers Are in Danger video for BDP because that's what Preem was cutting up. OC Rappers Are in Danger, and he came through. Cool guy from Brooklyn. Big up DITC. I would consider OC underrated. Absolutely. Bill Shapiro says Winter War's Cap verse, the Mystery Chess Box, and You Got intro. I think Winter War's Cap verse is one of the greatest verses, guest verses in hip hop history. Capadonna rhymed like it was his last day on earth. Like somebody said, if you want to live another day, what you got right now? Capadonna rhymed his ass off on Winter Wars, man. And every time I hear that verse, I get super excited because he just went crazy. I don't know if it's underrated. I think it made people look at him differently, like, yo, this dude is a beast. But you need that song. He never had the song. You need the big song, man, to really be remembered the way you should. You need the big song. I thought Meth on Shadowboxing. To me, he kind of took over that record. Big up to the Jizza. That's my brother. Um, I think Meth kind of took over that record. Didn't he go like twice on that record? That was practically Meth featuring Jizza. Samuel Gervais says, my criminally underrated rap albums are Camp Low, Uptown Saturday Night. I can hear that. Boogie Monsters, Riders of the Storm. I forgot about the Boogie Monsters. Wow. And Cormega, The Realness. And you know what? They are underrated because I haven't, those last two albums I didn't even hear. Uh, Vincent Ross says, Time's Up is an anthem. Yes. Besides when it was released and the instrumental being an 8 Mile, I agree with you. We used to rock that beat in BDP shows. You should throw that right on. Boom. Dude, KRS has rocked over that beat many times. Terrell McMillan says King Just is one of the most criminally underrated MCs from Shaolin. That Mystic of the God album to this day is Fishes. I never heard his whole album. Big up King Just. We went to the same high school. Uh, Haitian Space Program says exactly all kinds of super dopeness from 83, 84, 85. Yeah, there was dope stuff then too, but the purists don't count that. Um, let's see. Kenny, did Biz produce Erase Racism? I like how that group got together. All their verses dope. I've heard Biz say that he produced that song, but I don't know if that's true. I've heard Biz say he did that beat, but I do not know if that's true. The ink is black. The page is white. 45 King, Rest in Paradise, produced Stan. He is criminally underrated as well. I would say on a production tip, when they're talking about super producers, especially from that time period, they'll talk about Marley, they'll talk about Rick Rubin, even Dre in the West Coast, and then they just jump to Pete Rock, Lost Professor. But 45 King was killing it then, and he did Stan and Hard Knock Life. Um, Bill Shapiro said the Firm LP was indeed 97. But when did Phone Tap come out? But no, Preem had the album, so it was. I think I was in a studio two separate times with Preem, and he played me the songs separate times, and I got them confused as one time. Crew 2, the Dirty 30, another sleeper. Crew should have came out with Pronto. They came out with the single with the Slick Rick sample, which was cool, but Pronto was banging. I think that cost them. I think if Crew had to drop Pronto, they would have had a whole different career, in my opinion. Group Home Living Proof. Is that slept on? I mean, Group Home to me, I think Group Home is in the scheme of things is where they should be. I think that's some of Premier's best work ever, the Group Home album. I think some of his best production of his career as one project is on that Group Home album. Um, I'm not gonna say that's underrated. I would say more like forgotten, but um, let's see. Absolute says, was it the intro of original lyrics where KRS told George Bush, Margaret Thatcher, and D. Clerk to get off his diggy 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 diggy. That's D Nice going, get off my Shout out to D Nice. Um, I was in the studio for that. Of course I was. I got a shout out. No, it wasn't that. It was another rhyme. And at the end it goes, "You want to see Satan? Look at George Bush." It's on the live album. That rhyme. Uh, It's a great question, Jason Wall. What's the most non-hip hop act BDP ever did a show or festival with? Well, we did a bunch of festivals with I mean, we did Earth Day, with I forgot what it was, like mad rock groups on there. We did one of these festivals. I think I spoke on this last week. We did a festival with Herbie Hancock, who's been sampled a bunch of times by hip hop. So I don't even know if he's the least hip hop non hip hop act. We did a show with the guitarist from Guns N' Roses, Slash. We did shows with She's Got a Fast Car, Tracy Chapman, Go Go, those junkyard bands and EU. We did shows with Go Go bands. That might be the most non hip hop act because I'm not going to count Herbie Hancock as non hip hop, even though he's a jazz act. Um, he's been sampled so much, he's practically in the family. The Go Go bands, though, nah, but we did festivals. We did. I'm trying to think, cause some festivals be having like 20 groups on there. And it be all kind of people, man. That's a great question. I wish I had the BDP flyers, all the flyers that we used to have. Um, if I had have known then what I know now, I would have collected mad flyers and I would have took way more pictures. I would have had the dopest picture collection ever. I don't think no one could have beat me because all the places that I was at, all the places I was hanging out, nobody could have beat me. Um, but I wasn't even thinking like that. Damn, that's a great question. Most non-hip hop act. I'm going with go-go acts. We've never did a show with a classical music group or like, um, damn, because jazz is. I'm gonna go with go-go. I'm gonna go go-go as to me the least hip hop in my mind. Although we probably did shows with rock groups, like I said, we did a show with Slash, and um, that's a great, great question. Um, MMA says REM. I don't think we ever did a show with REM, but Chris definitely did that radio song with REM. That could be the least hip hop. But REM could be the least hip hop. But we never did a show with them, not in my time. But yeah, I could see that. REM is, I think I met Michael Stipe once. Michael Stipes. Um, he said Vanessa Huxtable had a show. Yes, she did. Tempest Bledsoe. Uh, Kenny, Grand Poobah was supposed to have been on Salt and Pepper's song Shoot. Do you know what happened? No, I do not. I did not know that. Grand Poobah was supposed to be on there? Wow. Bill Shapiro says the Sneak Attack LP was a banger. Thank you, Bill Shapiro. I got like 4 songs on there. Brooklyn Geek says Martin Downey was like an angry Jerry Springer. Yeah, Jerry Springer started out nice. Jerry Springer wasn't even wild. His show was wild. The guests were wild. The thing with Morton Downey was that the guests were wild and he was wild. Like he was equally as wild as the guests. Oh, he was dope. Rest in peace to him. Um, Sammy Gervais says Martin Downey Jr.'s show was awesome, but he got canceled when he tried to fake a robbery at a New York City train station bathroom. Did he say some anti-Semitic person beat him up or something? I can't say that word. Oh man, I might. Now I'm definitely gonna get flagged. Uh, uh-oh. I remember something like that vaguely. I'm about to get flagged, y'all. D Nizzy says Morton Downer. Kenny, remember Al Sharpton and Roy Innes fight? No, they had a fight on there. Gregory Dennis says 9 is underrated. What you want, 9? Fat Beats from Mirage. I don't know if he's underrated, but that song, I love that song. And 9 is mad cool. Big up 9, wherever you are. I haven't seen 9 again in like 3 decades, but he was super cool. And it was the follow-up single, NEMC, where he sampled Rakim, NEMC, Wave Your Arm. NEMC, Disagree, Wave Your Arm. I forgot the white kid that he had doing the beats for him. I saw them in D&D when they was working on that. Um, let's see. Kenny, Master Ace is definitely underrated, not mentioned enough. Live from Saturday Night is a banger. That album was incredible. Is he underrated? I see people talk about Master Ace and say how dope he is, and when he drops a project, he gets a lot of buzz. Underrated. He's definitely a dope MC who's made dope records. I don't know if he's underrated. Should he be bigger? He had a couple big singles about driving the cars, 95. That Saturday Night Live album was banging. Because there's a song called The Mad Ones. The Mad Ones was ridiculous. I used to bump the Mad Ones all the time. And I'm super behind now. Let me jump down. Floetry says, in my humble opinion, Deck's second solo just didn't have the proper beats to display his vocal style. Yeah, I mean it's hard. It's not easy to it's not easy to get a hit record. I say that all the time on this channel. A hit record is very difficult to make. Dreamweaver says Mad Skills from Where is another criminally underrated album. Big up Mad Skills too. That's the homie. Um, Souls of Mischief underrated. I don't know if they're underrated. Tori D, Bumpy Knuckles Industry Shakedown, underrated classic. No, in the world of underground, that's one of the biggest underground records ever. Don't know if it's underrated. Chill Rob G, La T, Wise Intelligence, Amazing MCs. Yes, Chill Rob G was a guest on this channel. That's the homie. And La T, I haven't seen La T in forever. Big up La T. I don't know Wise Intelligence at all. Let me jump down. The Benny Doyle isn't here, but we're going to do the Benny Doyle scroll down anyway. Who did the beat on the Hill Project where different people gave shout outs on the track? I don't remember that. I'd have to go back and listen to that. I don't remember that. I haven't heard the Hill album in forever. Um, I missed something. Aha, Floji One says, you could have been a hip hop journalist, Kenny. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That would have been dope. Although I don't like criticizing people, and like ranking people's music and dissecting people and like the source used to destroy people's albums and stuff. Like wouldn't have been into that. But like I consider myself a hip hop historian. I'm not like, I don't know everything, but I love hip hop so much that I've studied it so much. I think I could have been a journalist. Still could be. I think I can be a journalist. Um, I never went to journalism school, but uh, thank you for that compliment. I appreciate that. Um, Patrick White says Steve was so popular on Jerry Springer, he was able to get his own show. How crazy is that? Um, he never said anything, just regulated the guests. He was like security and ended up being so popular he got a show. Sometimes being in the right place at the right time is better than anything. Terrell McMillan says Morton Downey opened the door for Jerry Springer. Absolutely, he did. Morton Downey changed the game. Um, let's see. Oh wow, Spook Realm says the Israelites fought on Jerry Springer. Wow. I was supposed to accompany them but couldn't go. Word. That's crazy. CL Smooth underrated. I don't know. I think CL Smooth is in the lane that he should be in. Not to me. I don't think he's underrated. I think he's in his lane to me. Big up CL Smooth. That's the homie. I wouldn't consider him underrated. Sydney Rose says Slaughterhouse and Sitting on Chrome. Sitting on Chrome was dope too. Yeah, I like Master Ace. I like him as a person and as an MC. Kendra Smith says Grand Poobah was supposed to be on Shoot, but it was a miss. It was missed due to a mix-up with Herbie Lovebug. This incident is described as as one of Grand Poobah's biggest missed opportunities in his career. Oh, so he was supposed to be the one rapping instead of that guy who comes in on Shoot, goes for the smell of it. That guy, um, he was supposed to come in there. I don't know. That was a big, big, big record. Big, big, big record. David Olson says, Kenny, Terminator X Valley of the Jeep Beats album was dope. Have you met him? Yes. Big up Terminator X. Terminator X. Super cool. Yes, I've met Terminator X a few times. We did a bunch of shows with PE. Yes. Um, let's see. Mike Rocks 25 says, if we live long enough, the elements of hip hop lives through Asian. And there'll come a time when hip hop will be an Asian creation. I don't know if it'll be an Asian creation, but I could see it'll be an Asian dominated genre. Absolutely. Um, the Asian community, especially overseas, they love black music. They love all of it, R&B, anything like that. They're even is more receptive to it than here in America sometimes. Um, because to me, K-pop is really just rappers, pop rappers. Um, I don't know if it'll be an Asian creation. I don't know if you could rewrite history enough to make it that, but it's possible. If we live, we probably won't be alive to see that. Jack Swagger said if Kenny picked up a camera, he would have had better photos than anybody. I think so. I mean, there was like three photographers. There was like back in the day, there was like three hip hop photographers, Ernie being one of them. There was like a couple others that took all the photos. And they was outside, but I was outside. I was outside. And just BDP alone, had I took pictures just in BDP settings, it would have been crazy. In the studio, I failed. Um, let's see. Rosamel said the source destroyed good albums and praised bad ones. I mean, you could say that. I mean, like I said, it's relative. It's all relative. But it got political there for a second. That mics, 5 mics, 4 mics got really crazy. Got really, really crazy for a second. Um, and if you ever got to see some of the people who were the writers that were criticizing great artists, you'd be shocked to say, like, you? That'd be my mind, like, you dissing? Mm. Joey Joe says J. Rue the Damager is the same situation as CL Smooth. Without Premier's production, people ain't checking for J. Rue's music. Shout out to my brother J. Rue. Is it promotion as well? Like, if J. Rue put out a project and the people know it's out, like if he got Mass Appeal's promotion, the promotion that Mass Appeal is giving to people, if J. Rue got that promotion, then and it doesn't work, then we'll say, okay, people aren't checking because you could be right, Joey Joe, but I just don't know because promotion is such an important factor. People come out with albums and people don't even know that they dropped the album. Let's see. Yeah, I mentioned this to already. Martin Downey was smoking a cigarette every show. He was out of control. Uh, this is funny. Most underrated superhero is. I don't like how Marvel did Ant-Man. As a comic book fan, Ant-Man was an original Avenger. He was in the first Avengers with Iron Man, Hulk, Thor. Before Captain America was Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Ant-Man, and the Wasp. And Marvel made him like a joke. Like Ant-Man movies are jokey to me. And I'm like, Ant-Man is a real superhero, man. I don't think they give Ant-Man. I think he's my underrated superhero in Marvel. I think Ant-Man is could be even more relevant than he is, but they made him jokey. I don't like that. Like they made Thor jokey too. Thor's not jokey. Flochi one says, I like to keep it positive too. Why critique when you could create? Because negativity sells. You look at all the magazines, radio shows, podcasts, anything in entertainment. reality TV, the more negative and shock value you are, the bigger the ratings. People don't want positivity like that. It's very difficult to sell positivity. And I'm going to big up BDP. I think KRS One did an incredible job at trying to promote conscious music in a time when gangster rap dominated and Versace jewelry rap dominated, and he's talking about why is that and stuff like that is very difficult. I'm amazed that KRS did the numbers that he did considering what he was talking about. And I try on this channel not to be negative towards people, not only because I know a lot of these people personally. It's not because they some people I know personally would diss me. Um, but it's just not my style. That's why this channel will only be so big because I refuse to do negativity. And I always say on this channel, when I do the beef videos, they be 10 times the volume of my other videos, like 10 times. But it also brings a lot of weirdos to the channel. And so I don't do them as much. But I will do a couple. I keep saying that, but I'm waiting for a minute. But when I do it, I got a couple of crazy BDP beefs that y'all not gonna believe. I got a couple of beefs that you wouldn't even believe. If I told you how it went down, you wouldn't believe me. That's why I'm not even gonna say it because you're not gonna believe me. And there's gonna be people coming on here saying I'm lying. And the artist that's involved are gonna say it's not true, but it's true. But a couple of them I'm gonna do. But to say I like to say, yeah, negativity sells, man. Negativity is everything. Are we in overtime right now? We are in overtime. I'm gonna rock a little longer, y'all. For those that's just checking in, this is the Kenny Parker Show. We do this every Friday and Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please hit the like button right now, please, so we can bring more like-minded people to the channel. And big up to the Rewind crew. We are now in overtime. Rebuffy said, ah, Rebuffy says your beat 4 a.m. smooth was dope. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. For those that didn't get a chance to listen, my beat series, I'm just, digitizing beats that I have here, literally laying around. I'm digitizing them and I'm putting them up for people to hear or whatever, rhyme to, whatever you want to do. And the last one I put up was 4 a.m. smooth. I'm trying to do them one every Sunday morning is the goal. So I put up 3 a.m. smooth, then I put up 4 a.m. smooth. There's a 5 a.m. smooth too, but I'm gonna go hardcore first. I got a little too smooth, so I'm gonna go grimy first, and I'm gonna come back. But thank you for checking that out. Yeah, Kenneth Smith, when Steve got into it with one of the guests on Springer, the crowd would scream, Steve. The same way, like anything that happened, they would go, Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. Like Jerry be like, what I got to do? I'm not fighting anybody. Oh. Jerry Springer made a lot of money. Some people said he exploited the guests. Him and what's my man with the paternity test? Oh my goodness. Who's married to Connie Chung? Oh man. The people say that they exploited their guests. Um, I don't know. Percy Miller says, KP, your podcast lifts my spirits every week. Thank you so much, Percy Miller. I really appreciate that. I would end on that. But we're in overtime, so I'm gonna go a little longer, but thank you. No, Joey Joe, I haven't seen the Fantastic Four or Superman yet. I've been too busy. And now they're out of the theaters. So now I gotta get it on um I gotta get it on when it streams. Chris Morale says no failure. If you're taking pictures, you aren't living in the moment or having fun. I agree, and I was definitely in the moment and having fun. But now that I'm looking back on the documentation of hip hop, and there's not a lot of documentation, and certain gatekeepers are presenting a narrative, and I just wish you guys could have saw what I saw. Um, and I wish I had taken pictures so I could remember more. Because a picture will, will flash something in my brain. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this, and I could tell y'all guys more stories of things that happened. But I wish I had took the picture, especially when I was hanging out, like in the tunnel and the Latin quarters and all the places I was at. Me and Biz riding around. I could have took some crazy pictures, man. But you're right. It's not really a failure that I didn't take the pictures because I was just living my life. I'm just looking back at it. KB Play, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Um, Says KP Large Professor as an MC is underrated. Absolutely. He was dope, especially on Breaking Atoms and my favorite Faking the Funk, talking that extra hard stuff. He probably a punk. Um, we had Large Professor on the channel. I know everybody watching this saw that interview. It was great. Um, he was dope on Tribe Called Quest's album too. The only producer that got a song off on Midnight Marauders. And for those that's just checking in, I mentioned that I saw Q-Tip earlier today in the village, just out and about. I was out and about and ran into Q-Tip. And I was really happy to see my dude. Um, I haven't seen Tip in a while. Kamal, the abstract. I haven't seen him in a while. And it was just good to see him. It was always good vibes when I seen him. Me Tip to go back to 80, 89. I met Q-Tip in 89, bro. Where'd the time go? Mark Thompson says J. Rue and Premier are like a group. Yeah, and unfortunately, he's not getting Preem beats. I would love to see Preem bring him back in the fold. Uh, Prime Time, Prime Talent Agency, what's up? Says it's even 76ers now with the streamers looking mad like a bunch of herbs reviewing hip hop joints. Yeah, you look at them like, who the F is that? This cat. You're right. I mean, everyone has the right to have an opinion. And I say that all the time. Everyone's opinion is valid. But some of these cats' credentials and mixed with the venom that they are throwing at artists who are creating music for us to enjoy, and some of the hate that these people with limited credentials are throwing at legendary artists, to me is shocking. It's shocking. It is very hard to make music, man. It really, really is. And to make a banger is very, very hard. Sometimes you make music and you think it's dope, and somebody comes out and destroys you. These artists are real people, man. They're real people. And sometimes, like an article can destroy somebody's whole career. Like back in the days of the source, if they gave you a low rating, it was over. Sad to say, man. And sometimes they be wrong. Sometimes they are wrong. Mm, let's see. CMC says Large Pro is okay as a rapper. I like Large Pro on the Atom Breaking Atoms. I thought he was dope. I like him. He doesn't use a lot of wordplay, like a lot of syllables and stuff, but I feel him. MMA says Aquaman was a bench warmer back in the day. Yeah, I agree. Oh man, there's a lot of comments here. I'm still behind, and we're in overtime. I'm gonna do a little more overtime. Let me scroll down a little bit. I agree with you, Terrell McMillan. I didn't see Shazam, but The Flash is another one. The Flash was dope, man. The Flash was a dope hero. And they turned him into a clown. You are absolutely right. They're chasing children. They're chasing that Disney money, and they ruining the heroes, man. You're right about that. Um, Rosmel said there are so many superheroes in the Marvel and DC universes that are underrated. Jason Wall says Handyman, an underrated superhero. Yo, Handyman was so funny. Big up Damon Wayans, man. Big up Damon Wayans. That was a funny movie. Jack Swagger says, Kenny, we believe, say it. I'm gonna say it eventually. I'm gonna get to it. You know, there's been a couple of beef videos that I said on here, and certain artists have come along and said I was lying. I'm I will put on my I'm not gonna say it like that. I will stand on mine that everything that I've said to my recollection is true. And but you know, you digging up old wounds from 30 years ago, and that causes problems. And some people get embarrassed, but there's a lot of stuff you wouldn't believe. Like I said, this hip hop game, it's all smoke and mirrors. Most of what you think is going on is not what it is. Um, most of the people who had hits come to find out had ghost writers. Most of these producers stole beats from ghost producers, and the dudes that you think be hardcore, super thug, they're not like that at all. The dudes that you think are pop commercial rappers be really gangster, like Hammer, Cool C. Ooh, you got it. The glamorous life. If you watch that video, there's nothing about that video that would make you think that he would do what he did. It's all smoke and mirrors, man. But I've been trying to be careful. Um, you got to be careful with what you put out there too into the world. So, um, Red says, "Live a little, KP." Yeah, I know. It's just that you, like I said, you got to be careful what you put out there because it could cause ripples and repercussions with not just me, but the whole crew. So I got to be careful how I word things and how I say it. And like I said, I did a series that people didn't really like on here, and I was talking about mystery guests, and I'll tell you things that I saw, but I can't tell you who it was. But I'll tell you what they did. And a lot of people didn't like that. They were like, if you're not gonna say who it was, then just don't say it at all. But to me, it's like these are crazy stories of things that I saw. And they're true, wild stuff. But I don't want to snitch. Shout out to my man Jetta. He's always talking to me about snitching. I don't want to snitch, you know, on people, but I saw some stuff and I really want y'all to know. So I just tell you without telling you who it is. And people were mad at me for that. So unless I'm gonna go all out and just be like, so and so did this, then it's hard, but I'm trying to balance it. I'm trying to walk the tightrope. Jack Swag says, remember the BDP beef with Sting? Sting, the singer from the Police? I don't remember that. Kendall Smith says KPOT, let's get it. Let's get it. Um, um, D Nizzy says, you see they made Aquaman tougher because Family Guy was clowning him. That's why. Um, let's see. Bill Shapiro says, yes, 4 a.m. Smooth is incredible. Thank you so much. I made that track years ago. Years and years ago. Thank you, Criminal Mind. It says, like the video from my brother Kenny. Yes, please hit the like the like button. Let me scroll down to the bottom. Jason Wall says BDP was beefing with Madonna. I like Madonna. I like her moxie and her music, especially back in the day. I've never met Madonna. No, we never had beef with Madonna. Did we ever have a beef with an R&B, like a pop? I've heard before. I got a good story from somebody, a credible witness to a BDP beef before my time. A BDP beef with a very well-known movie director. That's all I'm gonna say. A very well-known movie director had a bad run-in with BDP crew. This is before my time, so this had to be like 87. I heard that. Jack Swagger says, do you think KP should mention the beast that we wouldn't believe? Java one in the chat. Yeah, please do that. But some stuff I can't say. I just can't. I can't. I did even the one I did, KRS-One versus the Notorious B.I.G. That was a big one on this channel. I didn't think anyone would believe that story, but I told it anyway. You know, me and Big had a conversation in a club and that ended up smoothing it out. I was like the middleman that smoothed out that beef. I know everybody on this channel saw that already. Um, I didn't think people would believe that. Some people didn't believe it. Ree Buffy says, don't forget to play Powerball, y'all. I'm ready. I already played. If I win the $1 billion, though, I'm still going to come on, y'all. If I win the $1 billion, I will still be here on Tuesday and Fridays. That's how much I like it. Yeah, MMA says, don't forget, Rita, IRS gets half. Yeah, man. I think if you win the lottery, you got to let them take all their money up front. Don't play around and make the mistake of owing 70, 80 million. You already spent the money. Yes, Gregory Nettis. Maury Povich did the paternity test. Yes, I could not get his name out. Could not get his name out. Um, Thank you, Patrick Wise. Says KP, I feel the same way with not having a camera in key moments, but the memories are in my head. Yes. The memories that I had, and I try to get them out. But y'all, sometimes y'all guys will say something, I have a question, and it'll jog my mind like, oh shoot, now that you mentioned it, I remember this, and I'll say it. But if I had pictures, forget about it. Um, Saturday evening, they are drawing for the 1.7 Powerball, 1.7 billion. It's crazy. Primetime says Q-Tip has that new joint out with AZ. I don't know if that's real. I've seen some videos of people, and I think it's somebody taking acapellas and making their own songs. I'm not sure about that, but it could be true. Fauci says, when I go to shows these days, I see more people watching the show through their camera phones than looking at the stage. That's crazy to me. I just saw an interview, I think it was on Drink Champs. Erica Badu was saying how, an alchemist was saying how Erica Badu locks up the phones, takes the phones away from everybody, and lets, and then you enjoy the show. Plus, people will film your whole show and then put it up on YouTube. I'm shocked at how much the phones be up. People don't even be rocking anymore. These days, your show is dope. You're doing a good job if there's a bunch of phones up. That means people are having a good time. Not make some noise, not throw your hands in the air, not clapping and cheering or dancing. If the phones are up, that means you're killing it. Corey Flood said the Source gave 3 mics to Smith & Wesson debut to Shining. Word. I remember when I Got Next came out, because you guys know that, or maybe you don't know, when you're about to drop your album and you're doing a press run, they get everything 2 months before it's about to drop, so that by the time the issue comes out, it coincides with the dropping of your project. So it seems like the magazine is right on time with the dropping of the project, but normally they get it like 2 months, maybe more in advance. And I remember the Source had a write-up when the Source came out about the song Step Into a World, and they were saying it's a terrible song. They had this whole breakdown of how this is a terrible song and it shouldn't been a single. KRS shouldn't even have made that song. Something like that. It was like a whole write-up. They were going in on that song. And by the time the magazine came out, that song was #1 everywhere. BDP came in the pop charts at #3. KRS came in the pop charts at #3. Step Into a World was like #1 on like all of these stations around the country. And the Source article came out saying that was a bad song. And we just looked at it and laughed, like, word. But that's how it goes. It's somebody's opinion. Just somebody's opinion. Rap Salute says, if you can write just a friendly game of baseball, you are solid as an MC. I agree. Um, all right, I'm about to jump off. We're at 10:50. Let me scroll all the way to the bottom. To the very bottom. Hope I didn't miss anything. At the very bottom. Yes, record sales showed them. Yeah, it was record sales. It wasn't even just, it was record sales and the reaction to the song too. Like Jack Swagger said, Step Into a World was a classic from the first listen. Yeah. But they thought it was whack. And they printed that. I mean, they're right to their opinion, but it was wrong. And it may say the Source was a shell of itself by then. Yeah, by 97 it was, but it was still powerful. Remember, they got a lot of heat when they put TLC on the cover. That might have been the end. That's when they jumped the shark. When they put TLC on the cover, that's when people was like, you know what? This might not be the hip hop official publication anymore. Um, Jason Wall says, I saw Chris Rock show and they put a lock on your phone so you couldn't record. They unlocked it on the way out. Yeah, I saw Dave Chappelle does that too. MK Ultra says, "Does Cool C have a blank date? He's been on there for a long time." Yeah, I believe he had a stay. A stay. He was like the governor. He was like hours away, like almost minutes away, and the governor gave him a stay. He was about to be out, and he got a stay from the governor. This was like about 3 years ago, right? Um, Jack Swagger says, "LOL, Step Into World, a terrible song. It's a classic. If you can go back and find the Source review of KRS I Got Next, they specifically pointed out that song as being a bad record. And I'm happy that they were wrong. CMC says KRS a friend. KRS is a friend is one of the illest tracks. Big up to Showbiz. Brother Show killed that. All right. I'm out. I'm out. We in OT. I'm out. Patrick White said at this point it doesn't look like Cool C is gonna get it. Yeah, because I think Steady B got life without parole, right? For being the getaway driver. Um, that's just wild. All right, y'all. Let me make this small. Small. Did I see everything? Yes, I did. All right. This is the Kenny Parker Show, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys know the drill. God willing, we will be here on Tuesday. Um, Let me big up everybody who went to the West Indian Day Parade in Brooklyn. I didn't even mention that I went there. Um, Ate food, saw a few people. I saw Scoob Lover, aka Johnny Famous. Let me shout out my man Scoob Lover from Big Daddy Kane's crew. I saw him out there. Um, yeah. All right. I'm out. I'm gonna catch you guys in a few days, God willing. All right. Peace.